most of the world, of course, at the moment is focusing on what the USAI, that's the United States of America and Israel, are doing in Iran. And people talk about the fact that as it escalates, as Trump finds that he's got himself into the usual fix, a little bit like sort of Oliver Hardy, slightly too ambitious in his, consideration of his own intelligence and skill. And as things escalate, maybe the USAI will start destroying salination plants where people in the Middle East get their water. And people say, well, this would result in the deaths of hundreds of thousands and millions of people. That would never happen. Well, of course it will happen. The USA has been responsible through either military or economic reasons, pressure, deaths of 40 million people since 1970, according to most research. And I don't see why they wouldn't add a few extra. But anyway, I want to get away from Trump because I know I'm going to get accused of, the Trump derangement syndrome. But I don't really see it like that. I do see it more as a kind of reliving my youth and the satirical humour of the 1960s and 70s. When I see Hegseth, it's like he's like John Cleese, isn't he, with his Ministry of Silly Walks. When I see Trump, it reminds me of Spike Milligan and the Goon Show. So I suppose it's sort of nostalgia, isn't it, for some of us, because it is a theatre of the absurd. But anyway, I don't want to talk about that. Don't get me going down that route. I'm going to sound like David Icke again. 40% of people are worried about their jobs. They're worried about the jobs because of the AI digitalization revolution that is coming, acceleration towards a post-human automated world. The brainchild of three or four nerds who really, would have been happy in their basement playing their computer games if it were not for the fact that they kind of got together in Silicon Valley 25 years ago and decided that they would create a new future. And having spent now billions of dollars of borrowed money on their venture, it is now absolutely essential for them and their backers and their investors, and that includes the people at the top of the political game, as well as banks, as well as the usual suspects. It's absolutely vital it be monetized. We are the victims of this monetization program, and that's just the way it is. You can't stop progress, you can't stop technology. It will accelerate like an organic frothing foam until the end of its own existence, where presumably it will blow up in its own face in one way or another. 40% people worry about their jobs. Yeah. Well, the thing is that you can read long narratives and books about forecasting the future. They call it futurology, or you can actually just look around you. I noticed that my local department store, they had a giant robot. Did I tell you that? It has a giant robot, 6 foot tall, 80 centimetres wide, wanders about 24/7, cleans 3 floors, goes up and down the lift. It knows when it's on a hard floor, it knows when it's on a carpet, and it does the job of cleaning. It will dust as well. I said, what the hell's that thing, as it was coming towards me at some speed. Somebody said, well, that's our robot cleaner. Friendly looking thing it was, working 24/7, taking the jobs of 3 or 4 people. Okay, this is the menial jobs that it's taking. Yes, I know, but we desperately need those menial jobs. Not everybody wants to be the CEO of Tesla. Some people just want to earn some money and pay their rent and put food on the table and have enough for a beer and a cigarette. But unfortunately, those jobs have been going for 30 years now, and I've been the victim of this many, many times. I was the victim of this 25, 30 years ago. And when I used to work as a gardener, and my job was it was funded by the local council, municipality, and of course that job was taken over by a private contractor who needed to optimise me. And so not only I, but all of those other poor bastards who enjoyed working outside, who enjoyed working in the parks, we all kind of lost our job and were replaced by subcontractors, a whole different game. And recently, in order to supplement my minuscule pension, because I wasn't clever enough to have a pension properly, but I managed to scrape by on a few $100. I was involved in researching speeches and speech writing and that kind of thing, just a little bit extra money on the side, a bit of pocket money, nothing serious, but nevertheless, it made a difference. But I have been replaced now by, would you believe, I had a phone call from my friend Linda, and she said, well, I'm sorry we don't use you anymore, but we now use an app. Yes, the managers have said it's too expensive to get a guy in to help you. Now what we have to do is we have to use this app. So I've been replaced by an app. So the cleaners at the local department store have gone. I've gone. And when I went to my local Lidl last week, I was met by two women at the front. I said, what the hell are you doing? You security guards? And they said, no, we're here to show you what the new system is at Lidl. Welcome to our new world. It is called Scan and Go, monsieur. Scan and Go. You've probably heard of Scan and Go. I don't know why it's a new thing where I am, but I think the difference between... I think we'll talk about this in the next video, actually, because I've been monitoring the Scan and Go system. The Scan and Go system is kind of automated, where you do the shopping yourself, you take a picture of the food, and then you just walk out of the store, whatever. But I think that's worthy of 10 minutes of my time, actually. The implications of the Scan and Go revolution. A supermarket devoid of any staff except a security camera, a customer and a customer's phone. Not even a device that you hold and scan, but your own phone is all you need to walk in and walk out and pay. Not a person to be seen. Anyway, so what I'm talking about is the fact that there is no need to forecast the future with AI and with automation. It's now, it's here, it's around you, it's me. Okay, it's happening, it's happened. But I wanted to talk quickly about the Erasmus project. The Erasmus project is not a real project. Well, it's a real project, but it's not the real name. Why have I had to change the name? Because not long ago, a couple of years ago, I had to sign an NDA, which is a non-disclosure agreement. Now, I don't really give a damn about that. Nothing's going to happen. But I don't really want to reveal the actual name. But let's call it the Erasmus project. It's actually called the Something Else project. The Erasmus project, what is it? Well, it's an AI project, and it's designed for extremely large governmental organisations. I'm talking about the National Health Service, I'm talking about the unemployment benefit system, social security systems, all the systems that employ at the moment large amounts of people. It's also going to be available, of course, to corporations and organisations and companies, small and large, in the future. But the particular project that I was involved with a little bit was designed for the social security systems. Okay, so what is it? Well, basically, it's a project which is designed and conceived and produced by the world's largest IT consultancy, American, and it's a automated decision program. basically what it does is it automates decision making. So if you have a job in any way where you have to make decisions about anything, then this is a program, a project that will automate your work. So it doesn't matter whether you have to make decisions, medical decisions, whether you have to make decisions about who gets what benefits and why, and where the law applies, if you have to make decisions about the law, if you have to make decisions about which markets you want to focus on, or marketing campaigns, it doesn't matter. If you are making decisions, there are now systems in place that are rolling out that will automate those decisions. How do they do that? Well, it's quite simple. They are AI programs which take enormous amounts of data and then analyze that data using predictive analytics as well to consider what will happen in the future, forecasting trends and movements, and then they make what they think are informed decisions. I don't know whether you feel that the decisions you make are they decisions based on kind of your own instinct and empathy. The thing is that, or they're based on an interpretation of the situation. They're based on context, based on feelings. I don't know. The thing is that in the real world, most decisions, although there may be an element whereby they are based on those human things, the majority of the time those decisions are based on a set of rules, laws, legislation and principles. If you are making a decision it doesn't matter whether it's a medical situation or whether it's benefits, who gets what benefits and when and how much. Most of those decisions are based on the rules and regulations and legislation. Therefore, in a way, the human input is a lot less than you would imagine. It's always to do with what's the reference to the rules, what's the reference to the guidelines, what's the reference to the law. I'll look at all that, then I will make the decision. However, so that's why the Erasmus project is going to automate those decisions based on a kind of practical analysis of the rules, regulations and guidelines and laws. The problem is when you actually speak to people who make decisions, they do say, well, it might seem quite straightforward that the law is kind of a watertight thing, or that the guidelines are very straightforward and clear, that actually there is always a little bit of interpretation that's involved, or there might be interpretation that's involved. Well, any sense of the sort of humanness of a decision is going to go, and it's as simple as that. So, do you make decisions? I don't know. Do you make decisions at work? If you do you think that, in fact, those decisions, if given enough data, everything you know, if was able to navigate through the legislation and the guidelines, would they be able to make decisions on your behalf? Well, I think in most cases they would. And the thing is that it doesn't matter whether you want to make those decisions. It doesn't matter whether you want a job. It doesn't matter whether you want to clean the department store. It doesn't matter if you enjoy being a checkout person at Lidl who has just lost their job because now the process of shopping has been automated via the phone using a platform. It doesn't matter, because the AI companies have progress on their side, this tidal wave of technology, unstoppable. And why is that? Because billions and billions have been invested, and that money must come back. And we will be told, persuaded, encouraged, in fact, knocked over the head with a rubber hammer until we adopt the sort of things that they have innovated on our behalf for us to use. They will link them all together until we cannot use one without the other, without the other, without the other. And we end up with 30 or 40 apps on our phone, for example, all of which we absolutely could not do without. And we found that this has happened without any input from ourselves, without any say. We have no choice, and that's just the way it is. The problem is that they have to monetize, and they will find a way to profit. And it doesn't matter whether we like it or not, and it doesn't matter where it leads. They don't care, and why should they? And they don't have to. It's evolution. It's technical evolution. This is the point of the acceleration program. Where it ends, well, one can speculate. But we don't need to think about the future and where it ends. We only need to see what's happening right now in our own community. In our own work, 40% of people worried about their jobs as the Erasmus project cloud hangs on the horizon, and it's getting closer if it hasn't already swallowed you.